Yeah, I can. Ray said something just a minute ago.
Yes, I can hear you, but there's no room video yet.
Or no video. We'll get to that. All right.
Hey, Tony, can you hear me? I'm just testing my audio.
Hold on, we're trying to deal with some tech. There we go. It's looking the wrong direction.
Hey, Tony, this is Chris. I was just testing my audio.
Yep, I can hear you, Chris.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, we'll get this solved. All right, we're good. All right, let's go. I think we're good. Okay, it's after 6. Let's get going. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the April meeting of the planning board. As a quorum check, and for Joy's benefit, Joy in the room are me, Cheryl, Bill, Frank, and Tom. Chris is on Zoom, and Pat. So we do have a quorum, so that's good. So we have a pretty full agenda tonight. Public comment for items not on the agenda. So if there's anything that anybody wants to talk about. We lost. Sorry. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about that is not on tonight's agenda? Not hearing anything. I don't think we're going to be on Zoom. I don't see any hand raised or anything on Zoom. Okay. 338 Lower Creek Road, sketch plan review and major stuff.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hi, welcome back.
Okay, so 338, we have 3 duplexes already approved from last year, from 2025. And I try to add another one because we bought another land and that's created 8.43 acres. And the building number 4 duplex will be proposed and is already approved from health department for the septic. And will be on same driveway, big circle, provide access to each building with 2 parking spot plus 2 parking additional in front of the building.
And you're subdividing.
Yes, and we try to get subdivided the existing house with 2 acres lot.
And this is a major subdivision because the primary lot has been subdivided more than 50 years. And I see that 2-acre lot has plenty of road frontage and really has its own driveway, right? So
Yes, is the like 2-side driveway because it's on curve and on hill, and that's comes with one of this. So we're not changing any access to the road. Everything will stay as is.
and the 3 properties, the 3 duplexes exist,
The 3 duplexes is in the
and they're the 3 at the top.
yes, it's 2 of them. The 1 and 2 is under construction. Number 2 we just started.
Right, and that's what we approved last.
Yes, this is approved. And all the plan was have a 4, but we were short with the land. That's the reason we didn't apply a year ago for 4 of them because the land means we was thinking 1 acre per building, and with the major subdivision, we required 2. Yeah, so we was short with the land, but we get another piece of land, and right now we're okay with the acreage.
And we see are you gonna do this with 2 septic systems?
Yes, 2 septic
So
systems.
the existing, but there's space that if these were in the future subdivided not be.
Yeah, we got the plan, means we will use the septic tanks with the future, means this is hypothetical future, but we prep for this and we got the room for
If
it.
it was, because what we need to do is we need to be able to show that it could be subdivided. in the
Absolutely.
future.
Yeah, and we got this on probably plan, so we got the room for the
Yeah,
septic
You
system.
end up with some really flag lots, don't you?
Yes, that's,
What does that do? Flag lots for the ZEA?
No.
Okay. Is this subject to secret? We already did the secret, right? We did it last year.
It is so.
It is subject to secret. Long form or short?
Tony, I believe Chris has a question.
I'm sorry. Oh, Chris, go ahead.
So these flag lots don't make a lot of sense to me. They just look like they're just drawn in there without much thought as to the road, to the pond. Like the way that pond is subdivided, it's really weird. Like if somebody in flag lot 2, they wouldn't be able to access the front part of their property without cutting through someone else's property.
Yeah, so. Subdivision two, I think, as the pond in the water.
Yeah, the lines just don't make much sense.
So Tony, if I can answer that, the intent of this was to show that it could be subdivided in the future and meet the parameters of minimum lot frontage. So the 3 flag lots have 25 foot. The parent lot would have 250. The acreage minimum, each lot would have 2 acres. So the configuration, I mean, it only works when you have a cooperative common driveway agreement. But everybody does have the parameters of the Vulcan area table met by this. So it is basically showing that this is subdividable, but as we know, there's not a subdivision on the table here. So it's not to execute a subdivision. So yes, there could be better lines, getting more and more creative with where the lines go. But basically the proof here is that it is subdividable, meeting all Vulcan area table requirements and meeting setback requirements for all the proposed buildings.
Okay.
But
Thank
this
you.
is the major subdivision.
It's a major conceptual subdivision for using 270-6.7. So that's why we're doing a site plan review. But it is not just using the minor subdivision rules that we used last year in approving the 3 duplexes and single family home. We're actually applying major subdivision rules.
Yeah, so when this came before the board last year, we specifically asked about potential further subdivisions, and they said, the applicant said that that was it at the time. So this kind of piggybacks on other projects we've seen that just keep adding on, adding on, adding on, and there isn't much thought or foresight for what the potential subdivision, like the lots or flag lots are, until after the fact, which is going to make a mess in this case.
The change in circumstance here is that additional acreage was added to this, whereas last year it was 9 acres. So it couldn't be any more than 4 dwellings approved in this conceptual subdivision. Now they've added acreage on to make 10 acres so that there's a 2 acre with a single family home and now 4 proposed 2 acre lots.
Right, so these lots. Unless more acreage. Okay. Any other questions? We have to show, so to have the 4 dwelling, the 4 duplex, we have to show that it can be subdivided in the future. Correct. They don't. He's not looking to subdivide that. What would it be? 8 acre park, right?
Yeah.
There's just all that's being subdivided off of it at the moment is the 2 acre sort of rectangle down in the lower left corner. The rest is not being subdivided, but we have to show that it could be.
Yeah.
Should someone in the future want to subdivide that 8 acre piece into 4 duplex dwellings. And we have run into this before where we look at something, and go, oh yeah, you can do it, but then when it comes time, when they actually try to do it later on, like we had a case where they were planning on subdividing it, and things happened, so they wanted to later on. It caused some issues because the way they wanted to subdivide it had some sort of, like, and they had to go, I think they had to go to, I think they didn't have enough road question, because in this case, I think from what Ray said, we're showing that it can,
Yeah, the potential can be, yeah.
right, proper road. Okay.
Just one more comment on that, just because anybody can draw lines on this to make it look like it's subdividable, but in practicality, to piggyback off your comment, Tony, then in reality, it most likely isn't.
There's a required driveway agreement where they would always come.
This is a required driveway. That's going to be part of. That's going to be part of the subdivision design of what they require driveway using. So I think the next thing is seeker. We're going through seekers. This is a short one. But not further long. But I'm doing it easy. Yes, please. I was going to bring it up here, but you're right. Bring it up there. What's that? Or is it?
Ray, do you remember if we asked for the key in short form?
I believe there was a short form there. I don't have access to the full file here.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's really important to hearing and trying to worry about that. I don't think that it's really after the only part itself, we have to how do we
Right. Right. Under current code, this is right. This is what it is, right? But yes, yes.
And I mean, where it sells.
Something this well, not maybe.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
I couldn't hear any of that.
Can you mic up?
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Good now.
Sorry. I was just saying, I think that our minor subdivision and our larger subdivision law force this really weird situation that I don't really like on the flag lots. But at the same time, we at Dryden probably want to support the development of areas like this because we should focus on this in future conversations around the law. That's all.
Right. But under our current code, this is,
but it's creating that, yeah.
so what's the issue? Gina?
Not finding a short one. Joe, you remember the short one?
Short one, yes. Yes.
Actually, I just brought up the one that looks like it's like it's 13 pages, so that's the one. Signed.
Well, there's certainly no harm in evaluating the full environmental assessment form, just a longer 18 questions.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're going to do. But Ray, can I do part 2 short, or do we have to get one around?
Boy, it would seem to be better to match it part 2 to FEAF.
Yeah. So I don't have any drawing form in front of me.
So I don't know if Gina is able to pull up the part 2 to go through those 18 questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find what the original email to see. Yeah,
I can print this one.
postponed by mail. Yep, that's the long one. Okay. So I'll need, and when we get to part 2, I'll need, ask for part 1, that's what was distributed. I looked through it and I didn't see anything that was incorrect. Actually, this part 1 SCAF looks like it's the one from the original. This is from last year, November 25. Because this, so this part 1 says 3 duplexes, not 4 duplexes. So I think this is the original one. Yeah.
The part one that I'm looking at does acknowledge this is a 10-acre site. So that's a acre and a half more than the
But it-
FEAF that was considered last year. And it's got a March of 2026 signature.
The one you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at one
I
here,
don't,
but
I don't have that. The one I'm looking at,
Okay.
which I website has a date of 9/9/5. Okay, this one.
I haven't seen an updated one either.
Yeah,
Here we go. This one, yeah, this one is different from what's on the website. Okay.
it's from March
Yeah,
21st.
this one's from Mark. Got it. I guess I would just ask, I mean, it's 13 pages. I don't want to read it all, but in scanning through it, and when I looked at it before, when it was submitted by the human originally, I didn't see anything. Out of whack, 10 communities. So that's from subdivision, from computer subdivision units. Project includes residential uses, yes. Four two-family units, so this is right. Proposed action for non-residential, non. Construction of other activities. Well, produce a new demand for water. Yes, but it is small. Thank you. So Gina, the one that's on the website is from Brett in September, but the one that was distributed with the email is that's the wastewater. Noise and heating and cooking on the phone, and construction of the you're not going to get in the middle of the night. All right, this is the long part. It takes a little bit.
I know.
Water body. Here. Robert Blake within 5 miles of any officially designated and publicly accessible federal, state, and local courses.
So Gina, are you able to pull up a blank part 2 for an FEAF?
You got me one. I've got one right here.
Okay.
Any questions on part one? Um, All right, we're going to run through this as quickly as we can. On land. Glasses, but proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of land surface on the proposed site. Well, yep, yes, so. Proposed action may involve construction on land where the depth of water table is less than 3 feet. No, or small, no. Proposed action may involve construction on slopes over 15%, no. Proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface. No. Proposed action may involve evacuation, removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material, no. Proposed action may involve construction with more than 1 year in multiple phases. Will take more than 1 year in multiple phases.
Yeah. You know, the winter took me 3 months.
Yeah. Proposed action may result in increased erosion, but from physical disturbance of vegetation removal. Small. Proposed action may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area. Impact on geological features. Proposed action may result in modification or destruction or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. Cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, caves. No. Right?
No.
Impacts on surface water. Proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes. There's a pond on the property, right?
Excuse me?
Pond.
Oh, yes,
Property.
yes.
This is the way. But you're not changing. You're not changing the pond, or you're not changing any of the existing wetlands or anything.
Just what we're gonna do, improve the overflow drainage, you know what is, so.
Right. So that's more, right? Impact on groundwater. Proposed action may result in new or additional groundwater. Yes. Because you're putting in a new well.
Yes.
Yep. That may require new well water supplies, create additional demand supplies. It's going to be small, right? It's going to be small. Yep. Water demand proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable. No. Proposed action may allow result in residential uses in areas without water in sewer service. Small. Action will include require wastewater discharge to groundwater. Very small. What that development construction water supply wells in locations for groundwater damage expected to be contaminated. Those action may require bulk storage petroleum. Those action may involve commercial applications of pesticides. Impact on flooding. Those action may result in development on land subject to flooding. That's a no. Impacts on air. Proposed action may include state regulated emission source. No. Impact on plants and animals. Proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. Well, you are building a building. Cause reduction in population loss of individual religious species. Regulation of any habitat used for rare threatened species. The population loss of individual species concerns conservation. Regulation, regulation of any habitat used for action. To diminish the capacity of a registered national landmark to support bylaw. Proposed action may result removal or ground disturbance in any portion of a designated significant natural community. Proposed action may interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging. Proposed action will require the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest. It's just commercial. Agricultural resources. Proposed action has an impact on agricultural resources. No, it's not an active cost. Aesthetic resources. The land use proposed action is obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current use land use pattern between the proposed project and the scenic or aesthetic resources. No, it's very much like what's around.
Oh, yeah.
Impact on historical archaeological resources. They're listed. Impact on open space and recreation. Proposed action may result in the loss of recreational opportunities or reduction of an open space resource designated in any adopted municipal open source plan. No. Critical environmental areas. Proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. No. Impact on transportation. Proposed action may result in change in existing transportation systems. No. Impact on energy. Increase in the use of any form of energy. Yes, because it's a new building. But it will require a new or upgrade to an existing substation. No. Creation or extension of an energy transmission or supply system more than 50 single or two family members. May utilize more than 2,500 megawatt hours per year. No. That's a lot of electricity. Proposed action may involve heating and cooling of more than 100,000 square feet. No. Backtrack noise, odor, and light. Proposed action may increase in noise, odors, and outdoor lighting. It is an increase. Proposed action may produce sound above. It's going to be small because the noise levels above established local. It's not even going to be above local regulations. Not even going to be small. Proposed action will result in blasting? No. Proposed action result in reaching orders more than 100. Light shining in the adjoining properties. Proposed action will result in lighting creating sky glow brighter than existing area conditions. We're not putting lots of them. Impact on human health. Proposed action may have impact on human health and exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. That is a no. It is consistent. It's a backwards question, isn't it? Consistency with community character. The proposed action is inconsistent with the existing community character. That's also known. That's it. So that means
Ray, is the peak part 3 the same as for the short form?
part 3. Oh, no. Well, that's on the short form. Do I need a different one, or is this the same? Okay.
It might just be updated.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on the secret? Essentially, we just need to say it's a negative declaration on the secret. And then I think, unless there's other discussion, then we'll see. Okay. Unless you have something else you want to add.
No, right.
So Tony, you want to do a resolution for neg deck, propose and vote? on that?
Right, for the paper so I can read what I want to say. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'm moving for a resolution for a negative declaration and determination of significance. Based on parts 1 and part 2. There is little to no it's not a conditional negative declaration. Right. So I'm moving that we determine that there is a negative declaration of seeker. Is this a type 1? This is on this. Part 1, part 2.
I believe it's an unlisted action.
It isn't. Yeah,
Suggestions.
it isn't unlisted. So I'm moving that we, in this negative declaration, this project will result in no significant adverse impacts to the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. That's my motion. So, right, you want to discuss it? Yeah. Chris, anything?
Nope.
All in favor? This is for the seeker. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, that's unanimous. Okay, we got that. Now there's motion to approve. I don't think I've heard standard conditions. I don't think I've heard any other additional conditions that we put on them. I know we've expressed concerns about a lot of these, but it meets all the requirements within our.
And Tony, I might suggest you consider a condition that if this were to be subdivided in the future, there would need to be a common driveway agreement. Right.
I thought they said that was in there.
There is a common driveway agreement currently, but it references the 3 and the
Okay.
1, so it has to be updated.
Right. And so the condition is that there be a common, if it is subdivided in the future, there needs to be a common driveway agreement as part of that subdivision. It would, correct, correct. It would come back to us because it would be, it'd still be a major subdivision again, so.
Yeah, we have a second. Yeah.
Correct. Right. So if they did actually want us, then we could look at the lot lines and but it is going to be required that it have a common driveway, especially with that term. So that's the motion, is to approve this. Second, Cheryl, second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
I had one more comment.
Okay, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I still don't like the way these flag lots are drawn. I've seen too many of these come before us, and the flag lots are kind of becoming a joke with the way they're being allocated, because it puts a lot of the onus on the future property owner to justify how they can split it up. Whereas if a little more planning was done in the beginning part of the major subdivision, then they wouldn't have to worry about that.
Right. Okay. Noted. And it is something, as Frank said earlier, I think it is something that we should look at as part of the zoning, and how to make that a little bit better.
Yeah, but it's in our purview to make them adjust it now. The lines, that is.
Okay. So motion, all in favor? Okay. Chris?
Opposed.
All of us in the room were for, Chris is opposed. It passes. You're all set.
Great, thank you.
I know that took much longer than we thought.
That's okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. 172 Ed Hill Road. So I want to say some things before we get into this one. So this tonight is a sketch plan review. We're doing a sketch plan review of this project. This is not, I want to reiterate that this is not a public hearing. I mean, this is a public meeting, but it is not a public hearing. We are going to allow public comment, however, and I would ask that people who want to make, they keep their comment in 3 minutes. And if you've already submitted comments in writing before today, they are on the record, so we don't really need to repeat them. We've all received them, and they're included in the record. And just to kind of reiterate what the process is here, there's the sketch review, and then if the sketch plan review is approved, if the plan is approved, then it goes to preliminary plat, which will be a public hearing. So there, and then the final plat, there's an additional public hearing. So in this process, there are still at least 2 public hearings to go. So having said that, we will also have to do a long-form speaker in this, so we're going to declare ourselves limited, which we will do tonight as well. But we'll do the speaker. I think what we're going to do is have the presentation from the applicant first. Let the board ask any questions they might have on things that come in, and then we'll allow public comment, and then we'll have discussions and we'll talk about next steps and people. Does that make sense?
How we doing?
Good.
I don't really have a lot new to present. The map has not changed from what we discussed last month. I did attend
I think we do have some questions, so that would be
okay.
good. But yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Well, why don't
You
we,
just do a quick, just overview of where we are with the latest, as well.
okay, with the, my notes from last one. With the latest layout, there's 17 proposed parcels. And then 2 that are the one that's going to the Wetland Trust, which is 56 acres, and then 10 acres.
That's an addition to the 17. Right?
Correct. So those are in addition. 10 acres of the Trillium Woods. That hasn't been determined yet. Possibly going to the town or some other organization to protect it. Then out of the 17 lots, 2 of them are 30-acre lots of agriculture land. So that there's roughly 82 acres of agriculture land on the property, and around 60 of it we're looking to keep as agriculture, or put it out there that could be used for agriculture.
82 acres is the current, what's currently being
used.
And we did do soil mapping with this, right?
Yes. We went through last month. It's very small. The primary soils, there's not very much, and it actually falls down in the wetland area. Right. Then the biggest area was the soils of statewide importance.
Right.
There's a map. That would be the purple.
Yep.
That would be the purple area.
Yep. Yep. Okay. That's good. And 56 acres is what is currently designated to go to the Wetland Trust, right?
Correct.
And the 10 acres of the Trillium Wood area. The other parts of Trillium Wood are protected by maybe part of additional.
Well, they have building envelopes to protect, to limit what can be, where you can build in there. I worry about, it came up at I attended the conservation committee, and there was discussions about what else to do there. You want to have somebody be able to manage the woods, like the ash trees are all dead or dying, and they're starting to fall down. You want to be able to salvage them or remove them if they're dangerous or falling down. So you want to be able to do, especially if you own the property, you want to be able to do some kind of management and stuff in there. But there is probably room for some kind of restrictions, like taking out where you could build an ag building on those 2 parcels and restrict against that.
Okay, but one of the main, I'll clarify the questions in just a second. But so in the last several days, in the last week, we've had several letters from the county 239 review. There's been an additional letter from EMC, and there's been a letter from the county farm.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
I think that one just came in. I think I just got it today.
Okay, I have not seen that.
So I won't ask you about it.
Okay. I do have comments if you want to go through the planning letter.
Very good.
So through the Department of Planning, their first bullet about creating clusters, preserve agriculture resource. We're preserving 60 of the 80 land. We're like we accomplish that, task. The abandoned railroad, we certainly can put an easement. When I first came in and discussed this project with Ray, I asked him about, that exact thing, and he said the town had no plans to go that direction with rail. But I guess it couldn't hurt to put an easement in there, and I think we're willing to do that. It's not, doesn't hurt anything in our plan to do that. The High School Road, at the Conservation Committee, it seemed like it was for that it be used as a through road to people, and that more than our lots from subdivision. So I don't know if that's sort of out of our control, or the town would decide to pay that or not. It's listed as a seasonal road. I went up there just after the big snow, and somebody, was all plowed. I guess that's being done by a private individual, not the town, but it seems like somebody's keeping it plowed and so forth. So, but that's really out of our, whether the town would make a decision down the road to pave that or not. We can't really control that. Then the eastern portion of it that's in the agricultural resource focus area, that's where we have the 60 acres. It's basically, their map is really general, but I would say it covers the area in the purple. If you put a straight line up and down there, from what I got, I looked up the map, and it's pretty small scale, and doesn't have tax map parcels and stuff on it. They're saying the eastern side of the property. So that's what I would take as. So I think, that's where we have the 60 acres for agriculture. Then the two of the UNAs, we just discussed them. The swamp, we're going to donate 56 acres to the Wetland Trust. And the Trillium Woods, 10 acres of it would be totally preserved as a park, with the rest of it having building envelopes to at least keep from building in it. Then the last one, where they came up with, where they have suggestions, the wetlands, we're going to have them delineated on the preliminary plat. We have no plans to encroach on them. If we have to adjust some building envelopes or building sites once the final flagging is done, but we don't plan to have a permit or anything, or we're not planning to build anything within the wetland or have a building site within the wetland.
And we talked about the building envelopes, and we can, using the building envelopes, we can provide extra buffer, right?
Correct.
And we can put deed restrictions that could prevent even agricultural buildings from going in the non-disturbance area.
Say that again.
So traditionally with zoning, agricultural buildings are often outside of zoning regulations, like setbacks and those kind of things. So in this case, the deed restrictions for where buildings could go could apply to both ag and the other thing.
They could. Right now, in our proposed deed restrictions covenants, it allows agriculture building outside of the building envelope. If somebody wanted to build a barn or a run-in shed for horses or something like that out in the pasture,
right?
But we could.
Well, and it would depend on the lot. So the lots that are directly adjacent to we could limit that to
or limit. Obviously, they'd have to get a permit from DEC to go within the buffer zone, but we could put down that they can't build anything within the buffer area of the wetland. That's definitely doable.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about that, because I mean, there's that agriculture, which for most of the property, you know, that especially the areas that are in the fields and all that, that's not a big deal at the moment. But these areas adjacent to the first one, and the wetlands.
Right,
That's-
like 16, 17,
Yeah.
and 4.
Right. Okay. And that's it from the ML 239, right?
Yeah, they mentioned the flood area, but that's in the wetland. So I think it's sort of a mute point. It's way down in the south west corner, which is where all the wetland, that's what's being donated to the wetland trust. So I don't think and the health department will be contacted.
There was a letter from the farm protection, the county farm protection, I forget the exact name of the organization. It is Tompkins County Agriculture Farm Land Protection Board. This one just came in today. It has some suggestions as well, so I asked you to look at that, right?
Okay.
But we'll talk about that some more. I don't expect you to respond to any of it right now, because you haven't. I think many people have seen this yet, and we've just added to everything. You guys got it, right? But I mean, it just came in that when I get a chance to really read it today. I did, but I don't know others. So I don't know that we can do a whole lot with this one, but you know, tonight, because it's going to be removed. Any other questions? I don't want to hog the, Chris has his hand up.
So we had multiple suggestions for building envelopes and a few other suggestions on different lots. Like lot 7 and lot 6 are a good example where we're concerned about the Trillium Woods there and where the building envelope might go versus what's there. Like lot 6 doesn't have a building envelope drawn. We had a number of other comments. So to not see the map adjusted, I'm just wondering from the applicant if they didn't consider any of them or they're opposed to them from the last meeting.
Not sure I understood what you were asking, Chris.
Well, we had a bunch of comments for you on your site plan, and you didn't make any changes, so I was wondering if you were opposed to what we suggested or what the reasoning was for not making any of the changes.
At the last meeting, there were some suggestions made to like,
I was waiting to hear from the planning board. You know, I was trying to get feedback. I didn't want to keep changing the plan and keep giving new information when we haven't. We didn't really get a lot of discussion on this plan last month, which I certainly understand. It was just given to you the day before the meeting. So as opposed to keep readjusting stuff, I was waiting for compile all the feedback.
you're noting all these things.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, Chris?
I mean, we gave feedback at the last meeting, so I'm not quite sure what he's talking about.
Okay.
But I mean, I had the comment last time that we just saw it and then we didn't, or I was opposed to looking at it at that time, but we still went forward and looked at what was there. And a number of members of the board had comments for you. So to say that you didn't receive them is kind of ridiculous.
You took notes, right?
Yes.
Other questions?
For the two lots that you have designated as the road for access, have you given any thought to the provisions in to ensure that they are if I were to buy one of those lots, decide that I don't want any farms in place on it, they're not really preserved access. So what I'm giving any thought how they might ensure that the quality that
Well, there's no guarantees. There's nothing that we can make. We've limited the building envelope, so you can't. We can put in the deed that they're for agriculture, but you can't force. But I guess there's a lot of agriculture too, whether it's always growing vegetables or fruit trees or something, as opposed to working out a lease for a farmer to use it. If you don't want to have it cornered in that the farmer can offer anything and he's got use of the land, because they're still going to be paying taxes on it, which it's one of the issues I think with this property. The lease doesn't even come close to covering half the taxes. So maybe it's not the overall piece isn't really an agriculture piece, but only a third of it's in agriculture right now. But we can certainly work on that. I don't have an answer for you.
and would we have a comprehensive plan to talk about conserve agricultural land as well as the natural resources? And I'm a little concerned that with this subdivision, we're not.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure how you could guarantee that they're in agriculture. That's a proposed use for them.
And there are some suggestions in that letter I referred to earlier from the pond.
Okay.
I'm just asking. Other questions? Yeah.
Also referring to the two parcels that are designated for ag. Those would be sold to someone, right?
Correct.
As opposed to being altruistic and being donated to some firm. And is the purpose of selling it to make a profit? And so is it going to any potential farmer might not be able to afford it because of the price tag that's going to be put on it.
Again, I don't know what it will be sold for, but it is going to be sold. It's not going to, all the lots will be sold.
My assumption is it's
Again, a lot of pieces that have agriculture, they're worth more for agriculture than, out here with Finger Lakes and stuff. When I see farms, it sells for way more than, and I'm hoping by narrowing these down to just agriculture land, it might be worth more as agriculture land than it is any other way.
I don't like agriculture sales. Wondered would
Right.
they afford it?
Like it might have been tough for agriculture land when you had 237 acres and only a third of it was agriculture. That's what makes it difficult. But if you got 30 acres or 60 acres and all of it's agriculture, it might very well make it, where it's worth more as agricultural land.
And your comments about Iowa, that, you know, you want to go with the town, money that might not do. But I know if I was going to buy these lots, I'd be advocating the town to improve, to widen, to, you know, make it so I can get to my driveway. So I'd be personally looking out for myself. So I think there would be a big call by whoever purchases these lots to go ahead and do these. It's just a feeling.
I believe the area where these lots are zoned to.
Yeah, where the lots are is already all blacktop.
Units.
The question becomes, would they, as you get down towards the swamp, there's that piece of high school season. It's not a bad season road. It's
Oh, you can pass 2 cars. I mean, it's wide. It's just gravel.
It's just gravel rather than paved. But the part where these lots are, it's already paved. It's just
And the 2 lots that are, but the 10 acres being saved for trailing woods. Would there be any kind of conditions put on the homeowner as far as, yes, they have a building on it, but what else would they be allowed to do? Is that going to be, if they could go in and clear cut whatever's on their property essentially?
No, we haven't put any different restrictions on those lots as of yet. But that was one of the things that I was waiting. I just alluded to that earlier, that possibly take out on those 2 lots that they could build agricultural buildings outside of that. It might be a very good no clear cutting, but you want them to be able to at least manage the woods, because I think that's important, that the ash are all dying or dead in there and starting to fall down, some of them. And
well, dead trees are useful to wildlife in addition to, you know, okay, for a homeowner, you might not want to see these dead trees on the property, but it's part of nature. It's what occurs. So that would be, if people went in and cleared all of that, they're impacting the enjoyment. It's just
right. I can see adding some restrictions there on what they can cut. You know, they can take out dead or dying trees, but they can't clear cut. Can't, because you want to protect. You know, we got 10 acres that's going to be preserved in itself, but you want to protect the fringes as well, so it's not. So I'll note that. We'll work on that.
thank you.
Other questions? Okay. We may come back to you, we'll see.
Okay.
But we're gonna allow some public comment, and then we'll be having some other discussion afterwards. So.
Okay, did you want to, for that, Ray had mentioned to me, we're gonna just look at part 1 to see if anybody had any questions before
We're gonna do that.
after.
I'm gonna let the public comment,
Okay.
and then we'll do that part.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we can do that, that would be good. But, yeah. So, David, you didn't put what you wanted to talk about. Is it this? Yes.
Thank you.
I first want to applaud the developers for making this effort to try and conserve properties with these, or natural resources with these building envelopes. There's still other major problems with the project. But hey, it's better than nothing. But what I want to focus on is what the Environmental Management Council was focused on, which is the lot line adjustments, because physical lot line adjustments are much more effective than trying to enforce these building envelopes. We don't have a lot of resources in this town, and we've already seen problems with trying to enforce building envelopes. So if we could just make some easy lot line adjustments, that's a much better vehicle. So for example, lot line, lot number 6, the building envelope is outside of Trillium Woods. It doesn't make any sense to include this other part that's in Trillium Woods. We could just cut that off, have a lot line, cut that off. There's still a 2.5 acre building lot that's more than enough for somebody to use. And in reference to, I'm a forester, you don't need to cut, you don't need to manage these trees in Trillium Woods. I work at IBRNOT, we have plenty of dead trees around. It's much better to let the forest go through its own process, weeding out these trees, and as you said, they're good for a lot of wildlife. On lot 7, which is right next to Trillium Woods and up to the northern boundary, again, if they just set the building lot, which is the building envelope at 2.5 acres, and then have the rest of it go with this donation of Trillium Woods. So instead of cutting Trillium Woods down to 10 acres, you wind up having Trillium Woods still having 17.5 acres of the 20 acres that it currently has. And again, you're just asking for trouble if you're going to let homeowners go in there and start cutting or doing whatever management they think they might want to do. So we really can't enforce that. On the boundary on the wetlands area, it doesn't make any sense not to exclude all the roads of federally designated and state designated wetland. Again, you're asking for trouble when a homeowner goes over that line and goes in there, and he or she is going to have a lot of problems there. And so, and it would be easy to just cut out all of the wetland roads from lots 4 and lots 11. And there still be plenty of land left that would be usable on both those lots. So I hope you think about that and think about asking them to make those lot line changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Sure, you have I'm representing the Conservation Board, and you have the.
So we have that in writing.
Yeah, but I wanted to emphasize 2 things just to follow up really quick. So you have everything. I also wanted to just point out that as people have talked about wildlife in Trillium Woods, anything you do along the edges, 10 acres, well, 20 acres is a tiny woodlot. It's really subject to drying. Climate change is not going to be our friend. And that community is supported by a really wet woodland there. And if people start going in on those, take 2 borders out and thin those borders, we're going to lose the center of the wetland. I'll just in there. You ought to go. It's Trilliums right now. Then the only other thing I think I really want to add, because I know you have it, is to think about not just those lots that actually take a piece of the wetland and its buffer, but those lots that run back along, basically parallel and above the wetland. All of that land slopes down into the wetland. And unless easements are written for those lots that run behind my property and then, but more to the point, coming from High School Road south and deep lots that have long driveways, all of the construction is going to parallel the wetland. And essentially what you're doing is opening both raw soils from the point of view of putting in a driveway or just ATV trails. People love ATV trails. And unless you write an easement that they can't have their ATV on their own land, you're going to have them. So I'm just going to say that the actual inputs to the wetland from the sloping high surface water, there's places where surface water comes up all over that property, is going to just create a situation where you have all kinds of small projects starting to empty more runoff into the wetland. And the same will go for High School Road, with more pesticide runoff down if you ditch along it further. And if that's paved through the wetland, you just get inputs from cars that are increased as they fly by. So those sorts of things are kind of an more indirect, but nevertheless hard to control aspect of having deep parallel parcels that go back. And you're going to have 11 people along High School Road, either by driveways or direct frontage, new houses. And about 7 of those are directly, the next stop is the wetland. So just going to, that's my plea for additional thinking on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also applaud them for really trying to take into that.
Marie?
All of you have more knowledge and more patience with rules and regulations and section numbers than I do. And so I need to leave that piece to you. You know that I've been sitting as liaison from Climate Action Committee to the Zoning Advisory Group. And one of the things that I've learned in my time attending those meetings is that we are, every adult in this room is failing our children and our grandchildren if, with rules and regulations, we cannot preserve the beauty, the natural areas in our town. They're not called unique natural areas at random. As other people have pointed out, when you isolate a unique area, you change it. And maybe you destroy it. I noticed that this development is called Trillium Woods. Think of how many developments in town, how many roads in town are named after a prominent natural beauty in the area that was disappeared by that development. Yesterday, we celebrated Earth Day. And for me, every day is Earth Day. I'm going to leave you with some words that were written for the first Earth Day.
Thank you. Justin? I think this says is it Justin Herbert? Yeah. You also submitted stuff.
Yes, we both each submitted letters, and we're not going to repeat, but just to emphasize a couple of points that just came up. Actually, first, I would like us to take a moment to acknowledge that the Trillium are blooming right now, visibly from the roadside since Tuesday. And it's nice to see the annual visitors starting to enjoy them from their cars on the roadside. But I did want to talk about High School Road for a minute. Just for, if you haven't been to it, just to clarify that, yes, the sections that are paved, High School Road leads to Route 38. So, that would be the preferred way. I would imagine that the preferred travel, it's a huge shortcut rather than go out of it. Around and the road, and our letters have discussed how treacherous that could be, especially in winter. So yeah, just to point out that it's a very quick shortcut to Route 38, and of course there would be pressure to pave that. And with paving comes salting. Bear in mind that there are UNOs on both sides, to the north and to the south of High School Road. That protects just enormous, I don't know the exact date, hundreds of acres of wetland. And also, I do want, as I said in my letter, I would like to bring up the topic of the unique sense of place that's threatened by this prospective development. And it seems to me that the comprehensive plan, is very much about maintaining, this bucolic sense of place that we have. And, I can think of no locale, in the town that more exemplifies, like the bucolic, landscapes, the dark night skies that we have, miles and miles of tranquil open space, and that's just not something that could ever be replaced once it's developed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us?
Happy?
Not sure I intended really to come out and speak, but I'm here to call them, so here we are. First of all, I do want to thank Alan for coming out and putting together what I would say is probably a thoughtful proposal. On something that does respect landowner rights, and so I'm kind of torn between this. It's one of those things that I live on High School right across from this, and I'd say it's not in my front yard sort of thing, but at the same time, I respect that, if someone has purchased something or is contingent upon purchasing something, and they have the right to do, pretty much what they want. However, I think there are boundaries and things that can be crossed on that. And when you look at this area here, there is something really unique about it. It has been in farmland, ever since I owned my property across from it. There's farmland next to it that has since gone away, for one reason or another, it's being protected by trust. But I think when we look at that area right there, the biggest business we have right there is Beck Farms. And Beck Farms has utilized this land for many, many years. I think once that circular land, yes, I understand that 60 acres could be possibly purchased by them. Who knows the price, if that's a possibility, or the person that buys it will lease that to them. That's unknown. But I think that's a nice thing that they put that in there, that could be a possibility. It's not a guarantee. And when I think about Beck Farms, losing that property, and they're going to have to go to make that up. that again is going to increase traffic. You know, if these houses do go in, you know, there could be conflict, you know, with with the landowners themselves, you know, and just that increased traffic going on through there. That road was traveled quite a bit when that bridge was out. I mean, it became a thoroughfare through there. I mean, there were cars flying through there. I had young children. You know, it was something we couldn't go on walks while that was going on, just because it became an open area. And yes, I know you said you've driven that road. You know, it becomes pretty rough. You know, they did just grade it recently in the last 2 weeks. You know, that only lasts so long until those potholes come again, and that keeps people from flying through there. So, you know, I think there could be a push, you know, to pave that as well. You know, it is paved in the parts that are to be developed here, but that again is another environmental impact that we just don't know, you know, what could happen with that and just the increased traffic. But I think the biggest part is looking at this property, you know, seeing what it has been. My take on it is, you know, yeah, we have the right to build houses. I'm someone who did buy property and build a house there too. So, you know, it's kind of hypocritical to say what someone can and can't do. But in the larger scheme of things, when you look at a property like that and look at the business that's right there and what their needs are, yes, they had the opportunity to buy it themselves. Didn't happen. But maybe as a town, we look and say, hey, you know, certain places and certain resources are for certain things. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'd like you to consider in this. Thank you.
Austin?
Hey everyone, thank you for having me back. I'm going to keep it quick. I've been here before. Here today, really in support of our dairy and Families Dairy. I'm happy to hear that several people have referenced the comprehensive plan. We use that plan to make decisions in this town, and you know that talks about supporting agriculture, supporting open space in unique areas. Everybody, you know, we've all mentioned that. What I'm very concerned with in my family, and as you all should be as well, is what door are we opening when we're opening up these houses? This is high-end housing we're talking about. This is low-end housing that's going to be built here. And we plan on milking 4,000 cows on that site across the road, 200 feet away. That corner over there on the top right is our feed center, our new feed center. That's going to store 100,000 tons of feed. So you guys can do the math on that, but that's over 3,000 trailer loads of feed every year. And that's not including manure that's being hauled out of there. And as Matt stated, you know, kids, these are going to be families. We work 24/7, 365. We work late in the night. We feed cows early in the morning. We don't stop because people are outside doing an Easter egg hunt or doing whatever they're doing. Their kids are out playing. The dust is flying. We don't have control over that. I don't think it's fair to us as business owners, as farm owners, or fair to the 17 homeowners that would be here. And this is just setting ourselves up for failure, for community failure. And it would seem irresponsible for the planning board to let this happen, knowing the kind of conflict that's going to come from this, because there's no if, because it will come. It will come. Ask any of our neighbors. We don't do it intentionally. We're just trying to run our business, and we're as respectful community members as we can be and do as best of a job as we can be, but we will not prevent conflict from happening here. It's not going to happen. That's my biggest concern. The land, it's good land. Can we replace it? Yes, right. As Matt referred, we will go farther for it. We'll put more trucks on the road. But we can find more land. I do support, as others have said, the good effort to try to preserve the 60 acres. But as has been stated, it really reflects on, you know, spending on the homeowner. If they don't want us to spread manure or they don't want to rent the land, and we can't farm it. So it's an attempt to save it. It's not a guarantee. Yeah, I think that's really just there's no way to avoid this conflict if this project continues. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Nancy, you did right now what you want to talk about? And Evan? You wanna talk about that? Rod, I know you're here for something else. I didn't mean to skip over you, I just.
I'm also on the Ag Advisory Committee, but I'm here specifically as Evan Carpenter, farmer who sits on the other side of the valley looking at that new complex with feed storage and filling woods. That's great. They do a fantastic job. They're considerate. The gentleman that was spoke just before Austin about sounding hypocritical that he bought a property, built a house, that he knew what he was coming into. He lives with it. As far as I can tell, he enjoys it. So yeah, it's a culture that we come with when we are here to begin with. And the price that seems as though that is going to be needed to put houses on these is not going to be the type of culture that goes with the farming culture. They're going to be expecting something a little different, a little more Cayuga Heights. Pardon me, I don't mean to offend anybody in Cayuga Heights, but when you grow up on the land, you have a respect for it. You have a respect for the unique areas that are on your property, be it a small waterfall, be it the view. You try to be nice to your neighbors. And like I said, I think Betts are some of the best farmers around as far as taking care of their neighbors, whether they're renting land or whether they're owning it. I'm proud to have them in the neighborhood and in the town. And I would like to think that we, as a town, want to try to continue that type of relationship with our other citizens. Thank you.
I'm like you, I also look at Beck Farms across the hill. So, but it's the other side of it. Okay, is there anybody on Zoom that wants to say anything? Don't see hands raised or anything. Okay.
I'm very impressed. Everyone did the 3 minutes in the neighborhood. David, you were the slightly longest, but just
Dave, the longest. Okay. So where are we on? So thank you all for your input, both from the committees. I just want to talk a little bit about what we have here. So the comprehensive plan has been mentioned multiple times. And as I see it, there are about 5 different priorities that we are sort of thinking about from the comprehensive plan. And this particular piece of property happens to hit all of them. And it's, so if you think about the comprehensive plan, we had, there's a priority around housing. This does a little bit for housing, but not really what, it's not a significant impact to housing. It does increase housing some, but it's not a huge thing. There's the protections of open spaces and natural resources and UNAs and all of those, the view sheds and all of these other things that natural resources. There's that priority, and we put a lot of input on that. There's the protection of agricultural lands and the agricultural community. There's comprehensive plan priority for that. Then there's the just the general, one of the opening statements in the comprehensive plan is maintaining the rural character of Dryden. So that's also a priority. And then we have this fifth issue, which is rights of the landowner and the ability of the landowner to do what they want with their land. And so we as the planning board have to kind of balance all of these things, some of which are in direct contradiction with each other. And, you know, if we protect all the ag land, what does it do for the environmental conservation? Because the way this is set up, soils of statewide importance exist under Trillium Wood. And if this were sold off as a single lot, as pure agriculture, that could be mowed down and plowed over and turned into fields. Or you could build a big barn with it, or whatever else. Somebody else wanted to turn this into a commercial farm. A commercial farm would threaten the wetlands. A commercial farm could, you know, especially if it expands, because there's the soils that, if they're drained, would be either prime or of statewide importance. So you could potentially do that. And if that happened, the town really, even with our zoning codes and everything else, would really have very little say in what happens, because it's an agricultural business in an agricultural zone. I should point out that comprehensive, under our current codes, conservation subdivisions are not required in the ag zone. I know we've talked about that as a change in the zoning rewrite that we're talking about, is making conservation subdivisions required in ag zones, but currently they are not. And what we have here is an applicant who has come forward willing to do this conservation subdivision process, and has taken a lot of steps to try to address all the needs. I think, given especially, and I know, Alan, you haven't seen it yet, but especially with this letter that came from the Agricultural Farmland Protection Board and some of the comments from the ag side, all of the suggestions, looking at all of the suggestions that kept coming from public comment and from these boards, from the town boards and from the county, I think meeting all of the requests, all of the suggestions is impossible. I think there's no way to accommodate all of those things. So what I think we're going to end up having to do is just try to come up with what is the best, what is the best thing we can do. And I mean, like I said, if this is sold off as a single lot, we have far less that we can do to regulate. As a conservation subdivision, there is a whole lot we can do to help protect these things in the future. So that's kind of where we are. I'm really struggling with this. I know people on the board are really struggling with this because we have these sort of conflicting pieces that we have to deal with. So having said that, I think we need to, let's go through the part. I don't think we can do a resolution for to approve the sketch plan tonight, because Alan, I think, you know, you talked about there were some notes from the last meeting, some notes from this meeting, there's some other stuff that's come in. I think you need to try to look at what to do to tweak to come up with some changes to the sketch plan so that we could do the sketch plan with you next meeting. I think it's not possible to do with it. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So if you want to come up, because we do want to go through the part one of seeker. The other thing we need to do with seeker is we need to declare an intention to be the lead agency on seeker. That's a resolution. Yes, it is a resolution. So before we go through part one, I'm going to move that we declare our intention to be lead agency on seeker. This is a we're going to reclassify this to a type 1 action. And we need to direct the planning department to prepare and send a letter of the planning board's intent to be lead agency for seeker review. Is that everything we need to move? Right. So that's the motion. Is there any discussion on that? Any questions on that? Essentially, for those that haven't been through seeker, we did do some classes at this conference, right, on secret. So in this type of action, one agency, in this case, the planning board, the planning board will take the lead. There are other interested parties, and that's one of the changes I know we need to make to the part one is the DEC, because there are DEC protected wetlands on this property. They are an involved party, but they're not going to want to take the lead doing the secret process, right? So, I mean, they might. We need to notify them. They could come back and say they want to take the lead, but the point is, when there are multiple interested parties, one agency has to take it. So that's what we're doing here. We're moving that we intend to take the lead doing the secret process. And this is the type one secret, so it's a much, you saw from what we did earlier, it's a much longer preliminary. So that's the motion. And something. So, Tom seconds it. Any other discussion on the questions? Chris, do you have any questions? Chris is done secret. All in favor? I'm not hearing anything from Chris. Oh, Chris?
What was it? Sorry, cut out for a couple minutes.
Moving to be lead agency on secret. Declare
Yes. Yep.
lead agency.
Yes.
Yep. Unanimous.
Sorry about that.
That's good. Okay, so now let's go through part one. Can you bring up part one? Like I said, I know there's one change, and that's the involved party. You need to add EEC as an involved party.
Correct. Now, are you under B? Because we're not looking for approval from them.
No, but we need to name them as an involved party.
Right. I agree that they're an involved party, but we're not looking for an approval from them.
Well, we'll go through it.
Okay.
It's on page 2. I was just told we need to add these.
I mean, we can add DEC, but we aren't looking for any approval from them. We're not gonna affect the wetlands or. Okay, so I'll amend that to yes, in DEC.
Yes. I mean, there may be some other interested parties here, which would be things like the town highway department, because we'll think about paving the road at some point.
Correct.
Well, and there's also, even on the existing roads, if we're putting this in, we can driveway across the next. So there are other interested parties, but involved parties. Okay, so on page 1, so let's go back up and let's catch the very beginning of this. I don't think we need to do much here. Name of the project is all good. That's 172 Road. We got that. That's all good. And if anybody on the board has questions about any of these parts as we get to them, please speak up. I don't want people to feel like they can't speak up.
I do have to adjust the numbers in the description of the number of lots. There's only 19 lots now. There's 17 building lots in the 2.
Oh, okay.
I'll correct.
All right. Yeah, we need to correct that on. So before we send this out, we need to correct the number of lots to be 19 now, right?
Correct.
I mean, we're not doing 19 building lots, but it's 19 lots.
Yeah, I'll readjust that to the wording. This was done before the latest plan.
Right. City council, village trustees, government entities. No, it's not. It is the planning board, and then the other agencies. Other agencies is DEC, right? Yeah, that's the part where we have the Tompkins County 239 review, which we've done so far, and then there's Is it state agencies? Was that what DEC was?
Yep.
All right, scroll down. Planning and zoning. Um, Does the comprehensive plan include specific recommendations for the site for the proposed action working group? Comprehensive plan, well, is it on the map? There is a map on the comprehensive plan.
What number are you looking
I'm looking at, scroll back up, hold it right in there. C2A.
Doesn't include the whole town?
I mean, the comprehensive plan includes the whole town, right? I mean, I guess there isn't any specific recommendations for that lot. But, okay. I guess that's right. I'm sorry, C2B is what it's called. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Where is the?
It's the bottom of A.
Bottom of A.
Because I checked yes under comprehensive plan, and then it says if yes. Does the comprehensive plan include?
So it's the second part of it. Does the comprehensive plan have recommendations for the specific site?
I didn't see anything that specifically mentioned this exact property.
Right. As far as any questions that we have to answer. I'm sorry, I'm bringing it up on my computer itself so I can see it there. Because I can control the zoom better. There it is. Rest of that looks okay. That's what that whole zone is, right? Including this one, right? That's all rural agriculture.
Yeah.
No zoning changes requested. These agencies. Do we need to do any adjustments based on the conversations with these acreages? No, the lot is still 237 acres. The physically disturbed is 18 acres. Is that right?
That could actually be 17. I just threw in an acre per lot.
And then total acreage is 237. So those don't, you can adjust those in there. 18, 17 doesn't make much difference. Extension on existing. Oh, is that? Yes, okay, so I'll do it. Really, definitely is not. You need, so here you need to adjust the lot number there too, right?
Yeah, down on D. Yeah, I already got those.
Yeah, that needs to be adjusted. Minimums stay the same, right? Minimum is still.
No, 2 acres.
2 acres. No, okay, so we need to adjust those numbers. Months. Yeah, this one is tough because who knows when, if and when things are going to develop.
Correct.
Does the project include new residential uses? Yes, one, and we need to adjust that number
to 17.
Yep. Waste to do, yeah, waste to do in other starts. Excavation. So, Ray or Gina, this is one I have a question on. So, on the one we did earlier, he answered yes, ED2. I think because there is some excavation, but this is really about mining and dredging, right?
Well, it says it's not including general sector.
It says not including general sector. Okay, so he should, earlier when he probably should have been two. I mean, he answered no to all the rest of the things, but I mean, what, you know, all the subsequent things wrong. But I think anyway, early. But in this case, it's really just general site prep, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are decrease in parkland and then existing wetland. Or encroachment to any existing, because we're respecting the buffers, right? So
Right.
why this is no. Yes. I'm on demand for water. Not a public system. Waste, yes. Do we need to answer some of these ones in this section here?
Where are you, Tony?
I'm on,
C2.
I'm on liquid waste, so it's a D. And then, I mean, the answer, you know, will it generate liquid waste, which we know it will, right? And that 3,600 gallons a day is like the average of 17 homes, or do you need to adjust that?
Yeah, no, I gotta adjust that for 17. That was for 18.
That was for 18, right?
I already checked.
So we need to adjust that.
Where does that come from?
Well, the state health department uses 50 gallons per person. I just average 4 people per lot. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, so he says, you know, he says, will it use any existing wastewater? It's no, and then it's yes. But will new wastewater sewage treatment district be formed? I think you need to answer no on that one, because that's not a yes one. On 4.
Well, you only answered, we answered no to that. Number 3.
Yeah.
So then you skip all of those and you go to section 4. You wouldn't answer any of those. Because it's only a
question 4 on the form I'm looking at. Question 4 is not checked. Nothing to check. Right?
Oh, yeah, that should be no.
That should be no.
Correct.
And then question 5 is just a description which doesn't apply. So, okay. E is a yes. Disturb more than an acre, yes. Do you need to adjust those numbers?
I'll double check that. Just, I'll put a note.
Yep. On of these properties, no. We need to do a SWIP here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
Yes. That's good. No. That's a yes. Now on page 7. K. Oh, that's for commercial.
For commercial.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Commercial industrial.
What did you have for J?
No.
No,
What's that?
no increased traffic above the present level. Substantial, correct.
No substantial increase, right? 17 lots is not a huge. I mean, that's the other thing in this is that when we're talking about 17 lots on 200 and some acres, it's really not dense. This is not considered dense development at all. It's pretty rural, pretty not dense. I mean, if we were putting 150, 50, that'll be a difference. So J is no, that's the traffic. Right, because the question is substantial increase in traffic. I don't think it will. I think the farm generates more traffic. So, that's also industrial. Produce noise. Will it produce will exceed existing ambient noise levels during construction operation? You said no. You don't think there'll be some noise during construction?
Well, it's residential construction. We don't have commercial. Not like we have something special going on. It's normal residential construction. Not something exceptional. It's gonna like blasting or
Proposed action about the lighting. Let's describe this with so N2 will propose action to remove existing natural barriers that would act as a light barrier or screen. You said no, and then described it as most hedgerows and wood patches would remain between existing. You agree with that, right?
yeah, we use them for lot lines most of them.
Well, okay. Propose action. The odors, produce odors more than 1 hour per day. Will propose action use pesticides during construction or operation? Yeah. That's commercial, industrial, and recreational projects. And so that we didn't even really have to answer. But it's good that you're
Could be recreation.
Could be recreation. Sure, somebody could buy this lot and just use it as a recreation. Back to your comment earlier about ATVs. Oh, it's actually modification solid waste facility. And I see there's some handwritten changes on here, but I'm now all the way down to E1.
Where are you?
E1, page 9.
Yeah, that I'm gonna redo. I'll redo all of
We're
that.
gonna redo this section, right? Because there's already some handwritten changes too. Project is contain an existing dam. Does the rail bed count as a dam?
Oh, that's the beavers. Everyone's like,
Municipal hazardous waste. Contamination, potential contamination. Has there been reported spill at the proposed project site or have any remedial action been conducted at or adjacent to the site? Is the project within 2,000 feet of a New York State DEC environmental site remediation index? No. Right. Right. Yeah, the rest of them is all like this. Touch screens can be a real pain. And bedrock outcropping. Yeah, 70% of the site is pouring drain.
well, because you got all those wetlands.
I know. Yep. The first one. Well, part of the first one, anyway. It's not, the whole purpose one doesn't sit on this property, like it's on the part of it.
No, it goes off.
I did drive over there and really look at this site. Unique geologic features. We answered yes to all the water body stuff and wetlands, federal waters, that's all stuff all designated. So we're in H. H. Well, that stuff looks good, but in J and K underneath, it looks like, did you change which is it yes or no? It's yes, right?
It should be yes.
Yeah. Because part of the project is in a 100-year floodplain.
Yeah, I'd originally checked no rate caught that.
Same with 500.
I'm gonna retype the whole thing.
Yeah.
We corrected.
Yep. And flower spruce for wetlands.
Check no on does the project site contain a designated significant natural community? It's no.
Yeah, that.
Well, you check no, but then it says if yes, describe the habitat.
Oh, you know why? Because the state automatically, when you go to the state website, it automatically fills in some of these questions for you, and you can't change them.
That's right. This is not, the state does not consider.
And the
this
state doesn't
problem.
recognize those UNAs. I listed them.
Right, because the UNAs are not, right, exactly. The UNAs are really a county designation.
Correct.
They're not for the state, so this.
So
When they go to this, people are urged to go to the seeker website to do this form on the manager, and it automatically fills in a lot of this stuff for you.
yeah, you picked the tax map parcel, and the form is already half filled out for you based on.
And you reference the Tompkins County Environmental Management Council there, so it's good.
Wonders of AI, huh?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's the wonders of AI.
Yes.
They're already AI
we do.
deciding what we need to know.
And actually, that was one of the things they said in training, right? Is you should encourage people to, or require people to use the website and the map, because it automatically fills in. Keeps people from just saying, no, there's no wetland there. Great. So. Spreading cold flower, yep, covered it all that, that's good. Yep. So these are all checked in, right? Okay. So you have the notes of things that you need to change, right?
Correct.
And we're going to redo that, and then once you submit that back to Gina, we can send out the notification that we
I should be able to get you that tomorrow or Monday at the very latest.
Yeah, because once it goes out, it's 30.
Yep.
But we don't need to actually do a seeker until so.
Right. That's why I didn't go through and readjust these things, because we're still tweaking and we might adjust some lots still yet.
Okay. So where we are. I don't think, because there's additional comments from the county in other places. Alan needs to do some tweaks to the site plan, right? So based on the comments we made last time and some of the other things that you can do what you can.
Yeah, like I said, I'll look at 6 and 7. That seems to be a big one. So
yeah, look at 6 and 7. So I mean, we're asking you to look at these comments and do what you can. From what I've seen from these letters, especially the ones from the county, I'm not sure that we can address every single thing. So it's something to think about. I mean, so we'll have to see what we can.
I have one comment. It's kind of just, I think I appreciate all the effort put into this. It shows you are trying. It's not an easy problem to solve. I appreciate what you said first, because I think this is true. I mean, it is a large concession of land, and we have limited control of actually what can happen there. And it could not, there was potential for it not to be a conservation. Right? So somebody come in here and just do a subdivision, and then all two got the wind. And so we need to be careful not to be so hard about this, where we have to drive people that direction, right? And that's kind of a comment to the board as you think about this, because you are putting a lot of thought into this, where that can just disappear. That said, the other thing we haven't mentioned at all is the fact that ADUs can be added to property very easily nowadays. And so you could actually double the one houses on area ADU from the rules. And that's something we should consider too, is limiting the ability to do ADU.
Well, we'll have to think about that, whether or not we want to, then again, that's a deed shift, right? The ADUs would only be able to be built within the building.
Yes, but you could,
you're absolutely right. With ADUs, you could potentially double them.
Which maybe it is that, but just something to make sure that we think about everything that can happen to these buildings. It's less dwelling unit. But they essentially do almost the size of the other house, and there's very limited rules around setbacks and stuff, because it's trying to allow people to.
But in this case, they would be required to be within the building.
They would be, yeah.
Because it's not it would be considered an agricultural. So even if you allow agricultural properties like a running or something like outside of the building, the ADU is not.
We already have in our deed restrictions, the premises can only be used for single family residential.
That's a deed restriction, that's.
Yeah.
Because that is a deed restriction. It's not even a word.
Yeah, so you're stuck there, right? Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
No,
Yeah, we can, we need to do some kind of.
absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I'm gonna go back and, you know, I've heard the comments tonight and stuff. Obviously, lot 6 and 7 seem to be a pretty common theme. So I'm gonna, go back to the drawing board and, see what we can do there. We might have to tweak some other lots to do that, because what happens is if you end up with more than 4 lots under 5 acres in size, then that kicks you into a whole nother state health department review. So it may have a lot of other requirements and so forth that you have to have exact placements of dwellings, house, septic, wells, and so forth, which we're trying to avoid. Give somebody the freedom to figure out their big lots, how they want to do it. So we might have to tweak a couple other lots. It sounds easy to just take those out, but that's the reason that I included part of Trillium Woods in there, was to make them 5 acres. But I'll look and see what we can do. Maybe we can adjust something else or whatever. Maybe I can talk with the eliminating. It's not just me. I work for them, so I have a boss who says no, we don't want to do that. So I try to tread delicately with him on suggestions of what we could do and what's allowed under your regulation. But I would definitely take these concerns back and see what we could tweak. All right.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me the owners are anonymous. In this instance, it's an LLC, so they have an owner.
Yeah, and Bob feels bad. He has not been able to make these meetings. So he ended up in the hospital in January. He had a fall and some broken ribs and collapsed lung. And then he felt bad. He planned to be here tonight, but he had a vacation scheduled in January when he ended up in the hospital. And lo and behold, when they rescheduled that, he's in South Carolina right now. So, but he's been here. Our other development that we came, he usually comes to the planning board meetings. And he's pretty.
LLC, sorry.
And what's on?
Yeah, Bob was there last month on the Zoom. He still wasn't up to getting out. He's had his ribs are taking quite a while to recover.
But I just wonder why somebody would take on something like this, knowing that so much you'd have to tweak it, do all these kind of gymnastics.
I've also worked for him for 30 years, so I sort of know what the relationship, and how to work stuff.
Yeah. And then Tony, as far as deed restrictions go, if 10 years down the road, one of these new landowners wanted to put in an ADU, would the future board have access to the deed?
The building inspector, right, should know if there's a deed restriction, right? So they go to the building permit, they can do anything. That's what's supposed to happen. So
I know enforcement.
Well, most of the time it does, but some like we saw happen in the conservation subdivision over there, the proper building up there slightly off the building. So and they really had to fix the deed restriction, because of the deed restriction, to fix everything. They really had to jump to a whole lot. So I hope that doesn't happen. Right. That's one of the things I check.
Yeah. I have one other, this was last meeting, I just want to make sure, I think Craig actually mentioned it. But I think it's an important point, is to have the building envelope site setback far enough in the ag section so that they can go all over the edge of the field and not be restrained back from fertilizing. You know, I think it's 100 feet from the building envelope line.
Well, it's not a building envelope, it's wells. Well, I had that discussion, and we were gonna add a note that the well has to be.
So it is an important note to follow. So.
Yeah, that's on my list of notes. Again, I think it's good to be having these discussions. Most towns sketch plan is a very simple process that it meets the regulations, and then you move on. And this stuff was a lot hashed out at preliminary plat. Usually, it's a different procedure. I think it's actually good because we're not. I can adjust the maps and the lots without paying a surveyor and engineer to be doing it all. So it's good, but we haven't put together a bunch of the details that we might normally have had because it was still a sketch plan.
That's what we'll see when we put in the plat. What is this preferred deed restrictions and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I did submit.
As I recall, the last time we did one of these, that was all listed on the preliminary plat.
Correct. The deed restrictions, I submitted a paper copy to Ray, but they'll be directly on the plat, right? It can be filed as a separate document in the courthouse. So we try to cover both ways so they don't get missed.
Good. Okay. Another question from the boards? Good. Well, I guess that's it for tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your patience.
I appreciate yours. This one is really interesting because, like I said, this property has everything.
Yeah,
you know, so
it's tough.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. 2150 Dryden Road. You guys have been very patient tonight.
So respond.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yes.
Hopefully you're having fun. Yeah. Great.
We are.
What did you want to project?
25. No, you go right ahead. I'm not connected into your and thank you for projecting, Gina, honestly. So broad overview, start there, right? We've been here before several times. This is a site plan and a use permit, especially use permit for an auto repair garage. My name is Marty Mosley. I am here from my company, which is Municipal Relations Consulting. I like to put that on the record for various reasons. You can search the newspaper to find that out. But I'm here. The owner is right next to me for the property. The tenant couldn't make it tonight, which is the owner of the auto repair shop. We also have our engineer online with us, so he's here in the event that we have questions as well. Roughly, it's a 2,400 square foot existing building that was used for agricultural purposes before by RPM Enterprises. And I believe somewhere around a 4,000 square foot storage building, again, agricultural building, both change in use occupancy. The lease area is about 2 acres, a little over 2 acres. And what we've included since the last time we came here is oil water separator, which is shown outside. There's some drains that are being positioned towards that oil water separator to be able to protect the environment. There were comments before, so we're trying to address some of that. We've also identified the exact parking areas, which I believe, and I think Gina talks about this in the memo for the planning department. I don't know if Gina wrote it, so I shouldn't say that, but the planning department memo identifies the parking spaces 20 foot in length by 10 foot in width. Is that correct? We had 9 by 18, but I was highlighting the difference. 9 by 20. So we're requesting a 9 by 18 versus a 9 by 20 in that situation. In addition to that, we show the larger area, parking area that's in existence. as where the vehicles would await repair. Again, it's an existing gravel pad area, so we're using what's already there. We have we've also identified previously the well location, on-site wastewater septic system location as well. The drive into it is a 20-foot wide drive with pull-offs roughly every 500 feet to facilitate emergency vehicles. We've resubmitted the application materials with the MOUs, I believe, as well signed. So you should have those as well. Culverts have been identified on sheet 8 C2. So we talked about that last time, just to identify where those are. Survey has been added as part of the document. I think that's everything. Hopefully I'm not missing anything. And the sign has been shown on as well, because I believe you asked for sign details associated with the project as well.
All right, so the parking area moves, because one of the comments from the fire department was they didn't want cars out of the room.
Correct. So the vehicles awaiting repair have been put into the large gravel area that's in front of the storage building, thus pulling away a bunch of the around the repair garage and actually allowing the facilitation of hose lines better.
Does he have an idea of how many cars may be on this property or one time?
I don't have an answer for that, to be honest. Awaiting repair, you mean?
Correct. Well, we know, so well, there's a couple of things. So when we think about this, in the same area there have been car repair businesses that can make large millions of cars. And even though this is way back in off the road and not really visible, I think we don't want to turn it into a building. Sure. So you know, there's limitations on the number of inoperable vehicles that can be on the property, those kind of things. So I'm just wondering if there's.
Are you looking for a specific number?
I'm just looking to know if, like, could we expect 20 cars, 40 cars, 100 cars? I mean, you know, is it?
I mean, I would say from my site visits, typically it looks to be about in between 10 and 15. Yeah. I mean, from my site visits when I've been there.
It's a small number because he does by appointment. So he doesn't bring a lot of customers on site except when he's repairing.
Yeah.
And then he has some cars that he uses with parts cars, those kind of things. But he keeps that very well controlled. The other thing that keeps this controlled is that 2 acres is fenced off by the solar. So it keeps it very well organized.
Chris?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ray or Gina, but I think there's a limit for how many unlicensed vehicles can be on site too.
There is a limit, yes. There is a limit to the number of inoperable or unlicensed vehicles.
And that's in town law?
It is.
Do you know what that is?
Currently it's 1.
Okay.
But
yeah. But I believe that would be
with other locations, we haven't necessarily enforced the 1, but it shouldn't be 20. Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
if there's a couple, not a big deal, but even though because the way the zoning is written, right, it's really intended for residential properties, not having lots of junk cars. Right? That's really the intent.
So do you feel 15 is too many?
15 inoperable?
Right. I mean, since I've been there, like I said, you know, typically.
And I mean, I'm not talking about cars that are people own and working. That's not what I mean by.
I think most of the ones that
if they're licensed, if they've got a license plate on them, even if they're not working at the moment, if they have an inspection sticker on them, it's been there last year.
And to be honest with you, I don't know because, you know, you see front ends that are smashed. So I couldn't tell you if they were licensed, and they're definitely not operable until they're corrected or fixed by him.
Well, I guess I probably should have heard all of that. What's in
They're registered is the word, I think.
Right.
Registered vehicles.
What they mean is unlicensed. So in other words, if it's not registered, if the car's not registered and it's not operable, it is.
I'm not aware that he has, he may have one or two on site that are not licensed and registered, but I'm not aware that the majority of the ones that I've seen were not licensed.
And if they're inside a storage building, that's a different story too.
Right.
So it's
Of course. Yeah, but so from my understanding, most of what he had on site was, you know, repair facilities that he was going to pull in.
And the intent is so that it doesn't turn into a
Right.
That's really.
Yeah, and that's a good point. He doesn't have a lot of vehicles outside.
That's good.
He's either working on them or the other building, which is the storage building, he pulls cars in there.
Right.
So he does, there's not a lot of them around the building.
If you want the code, it's 270-9.2 unregistered vehicles.
Right, and so just from a theoretical standpoint, with the 270-9.2 being in your zoning, that if someone were to violate that, and we're not talking about this project in general, right? We're just saying the town in general, someone could theoretically seek an area variance at that point in time in that situation. At least that's my understanding. Would that be? I see Gina shaking her head. So
I just bring your attention to that.
As far as I know, the majority of his vehicles are licensed by somebody else, and he's going to.
He's working with them, right? Right. That's one correct. It's like I said, the issue is when you end up with 50 cars that are just sitting there that aren't registered.
Understood.
Right.
Yeah. The only reason I have a relationship with him is because he won't be doing that.
Okay.
So I know he's a very I'm going to call it responsible kind of business person, and he deals with high-end cars. So his whole focus is you've known him to be meticulous. I would use that term for him. He's very disciplined and meticulous in his business operations. And his goal is to repair vehicles and, you know, the next customer who needs a repair. And so he's very efficient that way.
Right. Again, he's a small operation, so it may take him a little longer than if he had 5 mechanics, for instance, since it's just him working. So.
Hey, Tony, I just have one more comment.
Yep.
I guess this is, I just wanted to put on the record, for our planning and code enforcement to offer the same scrutiny on this auto repair as they have on others in the past, referencing what they did on another auto repair place, when I joined the board. So I just wanted that to be out in the open. That all places are treated fairly.
Well, that's a fair statement. I mean, your code enforcement officers every 3 years minimum are doing fire safety inspections on site. So my assumption would be in the event they found a zoning violation at the time, they would address it during the inspection.
Other questions? Okay, so what we're doing tonight is we're making recommendations to the town board because this is an SUP, right? So we're just reviewing the site plan and we're making recommendations to the town board. Some of the things I think we want to recommend. We already talked about, we may want to recommend that there be in the SUP specify some maximum number of vehicles on site. I don't know what that number is, but we want to discuss about what we think that things like that. Specifying something that's going to work with it. Well, I can tell you there's another property nearby that has a maximum number of vehicles on site.
Yes.
So I just
And I'm assuming it's maximum exterior of the building.
Correct.
Just clear.
And I believe, I believe the current number is 29 or 50. Anyway, it's not a small move.
Okay.
Right, it's not, right, but I'm thinking, it might not be a bad idea to include in the SUP some maximum number. I don't know what it is, I don't know how many cars would fit in that 2 acre spot, right,
Well, that's not, that parking area is not 2 acres. The whole parcel that's leased, not parcel, the whole leased area is 2 acres. So that's not 2 acres.
Right. And so I don't know how many cars would fit in that in the parking areas that you have.
I mean, the building that is 50 by 80, it's about a 4,000 square foot building. If we superimpose that with our mind, that is right over the top of that parking area, probably 1.5 buildings there.
Yep.
So you're probably talking somewhere around 8,000 to 9,000 square feet roughly of area. Now that's just a guess of mine based on visual observation. So,
but the business you're referencing, they don't have an SUP that says they can have a certain number of cars. Right? So it's not really fair to base what we're not tonight on that.
I'm not saying we should base it on what they have. I'm saying what we should do is look at what I'm trying to figure out is, so how many cars can they get in these designated spaces?
By best estimate, I'd say in between 50 and 60 vehicles could be parked in there easily.
Right. So maybe we want to recommend that the town board have on the SUP a maximum of 70 vehicles or something along, something that would fit where it is, or I mean, I can't imagine they would need 50, right? But I mean, again, you don't want to make that designation. Yeah, I think what we're recommending to the town board is that they, in the SUP, they have some discussion about what's the maximum number of vehicles. Does that make sense? I just think it's, because again, the concern is about, and I'm not saying we would, but I'm just saying the concern is about it turning into.
Yes. So the roadway that's being shown is the fire apparatus access area. And there's a turnaround below that area. So distance wise, it's in compliance with the New York State Fire Code based on the distance. So right at the bottom, you can see there's a T, that's the turnaround. Yep.
And you have been in communication with the fire department.
We resubmitted everything. I think, Gina, did you?
I requested feedback for this newer.
Okay.
So one of the recommendations is that we verify input from the fire department. Right? They should verify information. Yes.
I mean, they did make the changes that they recommended last,
Correct.
But they should just make sure that the new plan is okay. I submitted, I asked them for feedback. They didn't give it to me. Perhaps you could.
I could try. I know they funneled everything through the town previously. I tried to contact.
I mean, I'll reach out again, but
okay,
it can't hurt.
I'll reach out.
I'm familiar with that because I see one of the solar panels there. And last Saturday night in the dark, in the rain, we got a 4-door pickup truck full length with 20-foot cattle trailer through that lower barn and loaded up 8 feral sheep that we've been chasing all the way along and got them out of there. So you can get something of sizable proportions in.
But anyway, as far as recommendations that we want to give to the town board, I think we just want to verify that because you're right, the changes were made. We just want to verify that everything was okay for the fire department. Right. I think another recommendation is that you should include a lighting plan. Do you have a lighting plan?
We have included a lighting plan with indication of maximum wattages, kelvins, I should say. So we identify the color temperature as 27 Kelvin. And then there's also a cool temperature of 5,000 Kelvin when it's motion detected.
So we talked about maximum vehicles on site. We mentioned 279.2. Fire department lighting plan. Confirm that New York State DOT and DEC permits are not required for the driveway.
Not that I'm aware of. No, I mean, again, it's an existing driveway, right?
Right.
And so we're reestablishing it and reestablishing the edges, but we're not creating a new driveway, right? Just keep that in mind, so.
Yes.
We can make a note of it. I mean, if you'd like to make us a condition on it, you know.
That's up to the town board.
Right.
Up to the town board. You're on the town board and you can do that.
You don't see much light from the road. I mean, it's way back in there, and when you get close to the building, that's when they light up.
We
The beavers that have.
We do know downward facing and night sky compliant on our application materials under letter G, if that's what you're looking for.
And then you mentioned, so we talked about the shared driveway. Have all existing tenants acknowledged that they're aware of the new use?
Yes, and additionally, just so we can all understand the projects and the commitments, the solar farm is the key tenant because of the use. All right, I have an obligation through the lease to maintain that road. Right. But the cell tower people, I've talked with them, they're and their access to their piece of it is towards the front, so they have easy access. So they're not concerned about being able, you know, whatever changes the road has. Their thing is like the solar farm is that the road be maintained so that you can get in and out. So I manage the property, you know, so I'm maintaining the road for myself too. I have to be able to get in and out. So I'm responsible for keeping that road. But I have my connections with Altus, so and also then with Tarpon Towers. So they're all aware of it. They've all signed agreements with me. But the key agreement actually goes back to the original lease, where it states that it's my responsibility to maintain the access of that road.
Was any of that submitted?
Yes.
Yeah, so Ron, the whole intent of this is to make sure that when we send out notice of the public hearing for the town board, that Altus is not then alerted to, oh, there's another use on the driveway. I want to make sure that my use is protected. So I understand that you have a lease agreement with them, but the intent of this step that we're asking is so that they are fully eyes wide open that another business is coming onto the road that they previously had pretty exclusive use of.
Yes, and I have current conversations. Danielle Gray is my contact with Altus, and she's right up to speed on what's happening.
Okay, so just have her email a statement to that effect.
Well, she has. I shared that email.
That was a contract.
No, but also I sent. I dropped off that one of my most current emails from Daniela and myself stating that. What I did is I printed it was a thread, and so the pertinent text that we had, not text, email between us relating to this point. The way that was what I had discussed with you. We had a meeting the other day where she just states that we are, we're holding to the agreement of the lease. And so she's quite aware, and Altus is quite aware of any additional use. And candidly, their point of view is we don't care as long as that road is maintained. And it's like because I'm responsible for that. So their point of view is we're covered because that's your obligation in the lease. So any additional use was not anything that Daniela even had anything more than to say, and that's why I had them with that MOU that I sent out. was an additional piece to say, this is, to make it to make this current understanding of where we are, my relationship with them.
All right, any other questions from the board? Chris, you got?
Hey, Ray, can I say something?
But
This is Gary Bush, the engineer on the project. Just from a legal standpoint on the shared driveway, unless there's some kind of language in the driveway, the shared driveway agreement that says that the owner of the driveway cannot lease it to, or give rights to somebody else on the property, I don't see any reason why anybody else even needs to be alerted to the fact that somebody else is using it. Ron owns the driveway. He's giving these other people the right to use his property, and he can give anybody else the right to use his property that he wants to, unless there's some language in those lease agreements, those driveway use agreements that prevents him from doing that. And without that language being in place, I don't see where Ron has any obligation to even notify them that this is happening.
Okay, well, the town has an obligation to notify them that this is happening. So I'm trying to get ahead of that.
Right.
All I'm saying is, unless there's some language in that driveway use agreement, they can be surprised all they want, but they don't have any right to stop him from letting somebody else use the driveway.
The good news is there's no conflict. The tenants are all in agreement with what how we use currently.
Chris?
Slightly different topic. I don't know if it's been sufficiently answered. At what point does this area become a major subdivision because of the different uses that keep getting added along the common road?
Well, we're not actually subdividing.
No, that's correct. Yeah, we're not requesting a
We're not doing a subdivision.
Okay, I just didn't know, because I know that question came up before.
Right.
Of kind of how does that fit? Is that kind of an area, like a gray area that we want to try to look at? Because
this lot, so there was a major subdivision done when the solar farm went in, because the way the solar laws were written at the time, no more than a certain amount of
2 megawatts per,
right, had 2 megawatts per parcel. So they actually did a major subdivision of this property back when they put the solar farm on it. But this lot was where this is sitting was created as a lot in that subdivision. In this case, they're not further subdividing. Yes, it's a new use, but they're not subdividing the property.
and I believe it was identified as, at least the subdivision that was submitted, it was lease lot 2, total acreage of 12 point. So the tenants that can utilize 2.02 acres of that.
Of it, but it's not, but you're not.
No subdivision proposal at this time, no.
Does that clarify that?
yeah, it was just, I was kind of confused on the common driveway with different questions that have come up, and then it was kind of hard to follow between the original SUP and then the additional modifications that happened.
Yeah, and I don't
know where it fits.
Yeah,
we had these conversations before about, so there may not have been anything in the agreements with the leaseholder, but in the original SUP, there was some restrictions, as I recall, on the driveway, but I think those have since been revoked. Found that it wasn't.
Well, the restriction was that there would be a gate.
Right.
And the gate was so it's still.
There wasn't anything in the SUP that said. Oh,
that's true. Yeah. I will say that there is, it's not unrestricted use of that. Well, I'm not allowing unrestricted use.
No, I get it.
And only people who are authorized to be on that driveway can use that driveway. So, and it was posted, but I don't know if you've seen the gate is, yeah, there's posts signed. And again, Cleveland Garage is identified that they're not we'll say open to the public, meaning just stop in, fix my car. It's by appointment only. So,
and then the only other question I have, so there is no car sale.
Well, it seems like there is in the Facebook page.
on their Facebook page.
Yeah.
It says it
Coming for sale soon stuff.
it's not permitted in this.
As far as, based on my conversation with the owner, I've informed him that the zoning does not allow for it.
Okay.
So,
This
and
post is a little old, but he
Right.
calls himself a auto repair shop and started to.
right, I mean, he's fully aware that it's not allowed, and we even clarified that even further in the submission materials that we submitted back to the town.
So he can sell cars, you just can't sell them.
Correct. And I believe he does sell vehicles, but from what he told me, he doesn't sell them on site.
Thank you. That was just the last kind of note I had on my previous list.
Correct, and I know that has come up before as well, so.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, so what I'm hearing is.
I have one question comment. So this, started a year and a half ago, maybe? And so since then, even though we were doing this without permission, he's continued to do it since, even though we've been looking at this, he's still repairing cars there to today, right? He hasn't stopped work there. The business is still operating.
As far as I know, he's stopped.
Yeah, okay. I misunderstood that.
No, he did stop. As far as I'm aware, he has.
That answers my question.
Right.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so what I'm hearing for recommendations to the town board. I'm thinking we want to think about a maximum number of vehicles on site, which in my opinion should be roughly around whatever the parking areas can hold, right? In other words, the parking areas can hold 50 cars, so that would be, right? Because you don't want how many cars in this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, on the plan, just show parking spots. You don't have to do it in the real world, but just to show how many can fit into that spot.
Yeah.
And then limit it to that. Okay.
So show it in the lower part.
So give you an idea of what could actually fit.
Just roughly. So that they come up with some maximum number of vehicles on site. Part of the SUP would be some maximum number of vehicles on site. I don't know that they necessarily need to address the unregistered vehicles. We're not looking at that.
I think
Do you want to say anything about the unregistered vehicles?
if I
Do you
can,
recommend anything more to say about them for the recommendation to town board?
I don't think, I mean, that's because that's part of town code, so that's
correct. And that's what I was just gonna say. If it's established in your law, then it's.
Yeah, it's supposed to be,
Right.
the town law, right?
Right. That they should, I think they should verify that the fire department input is all done.
And if we can't receive a recommendation from the fire department, I'm just playing devil's advocate. If
they can't receive one,
right, if we don't receive,
I want to say that you can. I'm going to recommend that they ask you to show them that you addressed what the fire department did, because they did respond to that.
yes, they did respond, and we've addressed all their concerns. So based on the width and the pull-ups, so we did address what they had established in their letter.
I think the recommendation from us is that they just verify that you address the fire.
Right, I'm just asking if I cannot get verification from them, if they're not going. Correct. If I do not receive communication from the fire department, how would you like me to proceed? Since we've addressed.
I think you have the feedback from the last.
That's correct. It's in
your feedback now, and I would just say that we got feedback here. Here's what we can do.
Okay, I just want to, because you're making a recommendation to town board, so if they're going to say, well, the planning board said you have to verify, and I can't verify, I'm just.
Make good faith effort.
Sure.
Make a good faith effort. Yeah.
I got some comment on the driveway. I discussed the driveway with another local excavation contractor, Daryl Cross, who you guys are probably familiar with. He's building a road across the road from the town hall right now.
Right.
He's also the fire chief for, I believe, the town of Hartford, and he was very familiar with this project. He, paid paid close attention to what was going on when that road was being put in. And I asked him what he thought about it, and he kind of chuckled. He goes, you know, you could drive 10 semis across that, you know, when it's super wet out there. You're not going to hurt that road. He was more than comfortable with the bearing capacity of that road for what it's worth.
But I will reach out to the fire chief.
I would say just make a good thing.
Sure.
I think you've done what you need to do. I think the town board should. Lighting plan, you're already having this. I think you already know you, but I think I recommend that there be a lighting plan. And confirm that New York State DOT and DEC permits are not required.
Again, it's a pre-existing driveway is permitted. What's that? Okay. So that's not, you're not putting that in there.
No. I think that's everything I heard. Anybody that we're listening? Nope. So, I'm going to read it again. Recommendations are on board are that they should establish some number of maximum vehicles on site, roughly equivalent to the parking areas available. A good faith effort be made to verify that the fire department is okay with the new site plan, which I think it should be. Lighting plan and a lighting plan. The lighting plan included. Anything? I need that. That's what we have to do. Second. Any other discussion? Nope. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining. Good. Frank is abstaining, just as a note. Okay. So we need to send these over to the town board and
I'll reach out to the fire chief. And then we'll be in contact Gina about when we'll be in front of town board as well.
It's 3 minutes to 9.
For that. What a big audience, right?
Yeah, they run away.
Thank you. You know, it's amazing. I think I feel what you have been through. Probably enough. Thank you for your service. Yes, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Town board update. Or no, planning board update.
Ray, you want to talk about what's going on with the department?
Well, I guess the only thing I'll just give a quick update. The Route 13 bridge is well underway. Lots of utility work going on. So it is definitely any way you can help spread the word that we have a major construction project there for the people should just slow down for. I think that's about the only thing I'll bring to your attention tonight. We've done plenty.
Okay, I'm going to go through a list pretty quick. Lots going on with Dryden Fiber. So there you go. There's a lot going on about Dryden Fiber. I won't go into it all. The second is tentative, but I think it'll get confirmed. On the agenda of the second meeting in May for the town board will include a discussion on whether or not the town should investigate our district. We were going to do this passing. Our departments were supporting valiantly. They did an amazing job. It's just a sad situation. So we moved that meeting to May. But we're expecting to have people attending who came from other communities that had similar fire department setups like we did and share the pros and cons of having fire district. I emphasize this because I think this is something you all may want to follow if not involved in it. Another point of note is the Family Health Network will be bringing mobile units on May 20th and May 29th into the village. There's an online portal for signups. So they're a really fantastic organization that's funded by the federal government. They have a bit of a footprint in Portland, is my understanding. But the current existing family doctor in Dryden is going to be moving out. And so we won't have a doctor's office right in the village or in the township there. So exciting to see if this is an opportunity. So they'll be piloting 2 visits.
And they're going to be doing it at the Dryden Center community.
They're going to be doing it at the New Dryden Center for Community. And little birdie told me that they're also going to be in the Dairy Day Parade.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know if you haven't heard. I would assume everyone has heard, but Bambi is retiring. So this last town board meeting was the last town board meeting. Everybody held it together. Yes, Tuesday from 4 to 6. I assuming you guys all got the invite, but I forwarded it this evening again for good measure. Lauren will be filling that role up until the election, until the end of the year, but there will be an election in November. Something else that may be of interest for you guys is Dan Wakeman from the county did come and visit us last week. He did let us know that the county has decided not to renew their contract for clock cameras. And that is been a big thing in the news. He did mention that the communities that would most benefit from the cameras are also we're not that local in the scenario, so the county is going to look for ways to try to balance that. So that is my update on this. Oh, and we have lots of discussion on a proposed moratorium regarding subdivisions. And Dan Lamb has a student that for another class, not his class, is going to be doing a GIS mapping project for part of his semester that's going to overlay various different kinds of maps into a GIS map that'll include soil importances and water districts and all these things in our area as part of bring that back as part of the discussion on whether or not there should be a building market.
I've been following because if the town board puts a moratorium on major subdivision, we have this one going on, but we all of a sudden.
We have some things to do.
Well, this
focus on zoning.
Well, we did 2 major subdivisions. So
I know.
I would hope that what I said earlier about the
challenges
having multiple priorities. I mean, if the primary thing is to protect ag land, then maybe we need to work. But if you think about all these things that are in the comprehensive plan, we are working through these things in zoning. There's only so much we can do. We can't make people farm land. And we can't make people not want to sell their land. And in this case, they've sold a piece of land. And so something's going to change. And actually, conservation subdivisions give us a whole set of tools that help us maintain some control.
There was a significant amount of feedback from the conservation board around concern of the town's ability to enforce conservation subdivisions. So that is something, I did bring back that feedback to the board, and that's something that will need to be part of budget discussions for 2027. And going forward, because that was one of the main concerns, right? Was where we can put things in.
Asking, in this particular case, we have an applicant who has been responsive and aggressive. Remember, the conservation written. These are all recommendations, right? People, we say we want it. They have to do all these inventory steps, and they have to identify all these things. But there's nothing that's like, for example, these UNAs have no effect. They could say, I'm going to mow that over. You know what I mean? You're right.
I mean, and that was my point, is if anything, with the current tool allows us to work with them. It's even so much easier in the, I'm just gonna make the subdivision here and just break it up into like a lot.
It gives us something.
And it'll be taken out.
Right. It gives us something, whereas if it's just sold at one piece of property, we wouldn't have even been, if they weren't trying to subdivide, we wouldn't have even been looking at it. And if it's turned into farming, remember this particular piece of property, only a third of it is agriculture. Right? Sorry.
I totally, right, I totally understand.
And there's no restriction from them cutting those woods either. They can come in and cut those woods down, you're not asking anybody. And then just
but current owners who go and cut those woods down, and there's not anything.
What this is actually doing is setting it up so that there is restriction.
Chris, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just real quick. I think it's kind of something that Craig alluded to in the ZAG meeting. You have conflicting interests here. You have the need for housing and the need to protect land. I don't know how you do both.
Right.
And because the town needs housing and the town has the interest in protecting farmland, there's going to have to be give or take somewhere. That's more of a ZAG discussion, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
And I think it's a very complex discussion that I'm not sure that might take us years to solve. Right?
It can be iterative too. We can make things better and then continue to make things better.
So I'm not going to talk to Cameron. All I'm saying is that I'm worried about going to certain.
That's why there is so very much discussion on it.
Yep. Okay. All right. Agenda. I think we're almost done, right? Where did the agenda go?
Minutes.
Minutes. Did anybody review the minutes?
Can I make a motion to table the minutes and end the meeting?
Yeah, I think. Did I not send them? Were they attached to my email?
Got to, says planning.
We're tabling minutes.
I made a motion. Is there a second?
That's the only thing I attached was the agenda. My mistake. Sorry, nobody said anything that they didn't get minutes. Sorry. I apologize. With that, I think there's nothing else, right? We're adjourned at 9:10. Thanks, Chris, for joining on Zoom.
Good to be here.
Good job.